Welcome once again. This is Impact Masters Media, and today is an amazing day. We have one of the greatest African alive.
Thank you.
This guest of mine is one gentleman you can speak about African diaspora. He has done it all, and his name is Teddy Warria.
Thank you.
Welcome, Teddy. How are you today?
I feel good to be at Africa Stocking headquarters.
Yes.
And I feel good that my voice is being recorded and heard after dawn.
Oh.
After dawn.
Yeah.
Rather, is it dusk or dawn? After dusk. After dusk. Because that's when the great African stories
Yes.
were often told of either hot porridge or hot boiling soup, as our grandmothers and grandfathers regaled us with stories of our greatness, that they were not copying or imitating anybody.
Yes.
But they were saying things the way they are, and they were contextualizing their environment.
Yes.
And not even dreaming about winter or snow, but dealing with our terrain, dealing with our vegetation, and dealing with our animals and our local heroes.
Yes.
And heroines.
Yes.
So I'm happy any day, any time to lend voice to these stories of a new and unfolding Africa as part and contributor of the new Africa,
Yes.
of the African Renaissance, because we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Yes.
And Teddy is ready.
Amazing. So, from my African morals, you cannot speak about anyone without knowing who they are.
Yes.
And something good that we do at Impact Masters Media, in all our channels, that we want to know who is the guest, not the official way of telling who we are, but who we are as humans. Like, where do you come from, who you are, how is your story?
Actually, I like that very much because, one, I've written a story of my life called Son of the Nile. But before that, lately people call me an author. But before that, other people call me a technology entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because I helped create Africa Stocking,
yes.
SMS Leopard, and other companies, Africa 2.0. And but I really tell people that I'm a son of a woman. And this woman is Wilfrida Atieno Ombodo Warria Nyarseme Kobita Nyarseme Lango, which basically means my mother came from a place called Seme in Kisumu. And that's where beautiful, witty and intelligent women like Lupita Amondi Nyong'o comes from. They're usually very Sylvette shaped women, very intelligent. You can't play around with them because everything you say they can answer back very quickly. They're very quick-witted.
Yes.
So I come from such a woman. And my mother was actually originally supposed to be a nun. But the father, because he mainly had four daughters, he said, I want I want the next generation of my family. So my grandfather, Boniface Ombodo, refused to sign the document which could have made my mother become a nun. So my mother did not become a nun. So I found that when I was writing my own book, Son of the Nile. Because in that book, I've written my entire genealogy.
Yes.
It is up to about 15 generations.
Yes.
And the reason why I did that is because I always, when I was in the US, one of my good friends, David Shiverick Smith, his grandfather was one of the people in the Pilgrim's Progress. And he was in the Mayflower. He came to the US with the Mayflower and was the only person in the boat, in the Mayflower, that had a degree from Cambridge University, which means he was a leader of the Pilgrim's Progress, and those were the builders and the founders of America.
Yes.
So I was deeply challenged by that because he had up to almost 100 generations of his life. And I said, gosh, I don't even know up to my fourth. So during Corona, I researched, and through the help of my uncle, Mwalimu Huxley, Miri, I was able to discover my genealogy. So my challenge to my fellow Africans is that know yourself and be true. Yeah, and be true to yourself rather than just putting shiny pictures on Instagram. Go to the village, even if you live in a hut. Take that picture of the hut. It's still your heritage, and that's who you are.
Yes, yes.
Then you can build on from that. Don't be shy of who you are because you think people will laugh at you or you want to look good on Instagram or Facebook. Start from where you are.
Yes, yes.
And that's why I started with my book. First, it was only 16 pages.
Yes.
But now it's 350 pages.
Wow.
So the smaller version of it, I call it I Am From, just to tell people where I'm from. And I wrote the first line of my book, I Am From book, goes like this. I am from fishermen, bone setters, tailors, and craftsmen. I am water. I am sun. I am wind. I am an African.
Yes.
From omena, tilapia, sweet potatoes, and ondelo. The reason why I say that I'm from fishermen is because my heritage, we came all the way from the north during the Great Migration, as far as Egypt, then to South Sudan, then to Uganda, then to Got Ramogi, then to a place called Ndere Island, cross Ndere Island to go to Osiri Masanga. Osiri Masanga, we went to Gemrai. Gemrai went to Okanawach. Okanawach, we went to Sondo. Sondo went to Nyabondo. And after that, we settled in Nyakach Kadianga.
What?
I'm the son of Kadianga, which is the last place we stopped. And I'm from the last Jokajok people. Jokajok 3. We were the last Luo country of the Luo nation to complete the Great Migration from the north. So I take a lot of pride in that history, knowing that we are the last Luos to come into East Africa from the north.
Which year was this?
This is like almost about 300 years ago. What? So we have been in Kenya for about 300 years.
300 years?
300 years, yes. And I have up to the 20th generation in my book, which means we really have been here for about 300 years. So we've not, it's not long, but it's really...
It's long, 3 centuries is long.
Exactly, but at least I know that that's my route. And my goal and hope was to have as many Kenyans as possible to trace and track the genealogy, even if they're not putting it up in a book, but they need to put it down on paper and do things like this podcast so that the whole world will know that we're not just a second generation kind of people, but we have other generations that have like come before us. And believe it or not, these guys walked all the way from the ancient Egypt because a long time ago, there's no border between Egypt and Sudan. It was one territory, which was run by the pharaohs. Yeah.
Now, Teddy, we have like summarized who you are, and we have gone deep, which is really nice. But where did you go to school? Like, how is your academic adventure? Because I know there's a story that is not published anymore, but you want to tell about that.
Yeah, which one?
Where did you start? And how was that journey?
These stories have actually not been published anywhere. But I had a distinct blessing of going to a Sisters of Charity kindergarten. Sisters of Charity was started by Mother Teresa. This was in Kariobangi. So we used to live in Buruburu Phase 1, which were housing estates created by the Commonwealth Development Fund, by the government of Kenya. They were trying to make modern estates. And Buruburu those days was the crown jewel of estates in Nairobi.
So if you're
you're the upper middle class, you lived in Buruburu. Wow. So I was born 4 years after Buruburu was created, which means I was conceived in Buruburu, Phase 1, house number 150.
The house,
the house is still there until now. So I'm quite pleased about that. Because I went to Buruburu 1 primary school. Buruburu actually derives its name from bulbul, which are a type of black birds which like living or circling around swamps. Buruburu used to be a swamp. But one of the native Kikuyus or Agikoyo people who were living next to there could not say bulbul. Saying buruburu. Buruburu.
And it became Buruburu.
So it became Buruburu. So that's how it derived its name. So I went to Buruburu 1 primary school. In my first year of school, which a lot of people don't know, that know me, I couldn't see the blackboard because I was short-sighted. But nobody knew I was short-sighted, so I could not get my ABCDs right. I could not also get my numbering 1 to 10 or 1 to 100.
Yes.
So I was failing my tests. And until my teacher, Mrs. Mwangi, God bless her wherever she is, she noticed I could not see the blackboard.
Yes.
So she moved me from behind and put me in front. So I used to be number 34 out of 36, something like that. But then in the end of second term, when she moved me in front, I became number 1 out of 36. What? And that never stopped until the end, until class 8.
And by the way, Teddy, now that you have mentioned this, I think this is something that even in 2022 is still going on.
Yes.
Because one of the things that you will notice that even for me, I just got glasses in 2022.
Oh, wow.
Because I realized over time I'm short-sighted.
Yes.
And it's kind of fascinating because if I remember really well, there's the same story we have told that actually I can share.
And even I used to do like this to try and see. So that's when the teacher discovered that this guy, he's really short-sighted.
Yeah.
And that changed my fortunes. And then whenever you'd come to be number 1, they would always call you in front and give you a book as a gift.
Yes.
And the then member of parliament was called Maina Wanjigi, the father of Jimmy Wanjigi. So he'd always give me like 50 shillings or 100 bob whenever I become number 1. So and kids would clap for me in front and I would clap back.
Yes.
So needless to say, after that I got very good marks, very high marks. I went to Lenana School. After Lenana School, I went to Strathmore.
Wait a minute. Come on now.
Yes.
Come on. Just be kind.
Yes.
How like, that means if you went to Lenana School, you performed really well.
Extremely well.
And how was your journey in primary school? Like, how was your childhood? Because that's more or less childhood.
Actually, I'd like to share this. Something unusual happened to me because you'd actually asked me to define myself. I'm the 10th of 17 children from a polygamous East African family.
Yes.
My father was the late George Edward Warria, was the first graphic designer or among the first graphic designers in Africa. Those days used to use something called Pascal, which was that was one of the computing languages at that time.
Yes.
And he worked for Print Park and then also Cool Graphics. So he worked in Dar es Salaam, but I was one of his kids who was born in Kenya. But the reason why I'm saying that is because I learned so much from my elder siblings. So one of my eldest brothers now, Dr. Dan Warria, he lives in Switzerland.
Yes.
He's a reformed church pastor.
Yes.
And my other sister, who is my age, Ajoang Warria, is a professor at Wits, University of Witwatersrand in South Africa.
Yes.
But what used to happen is that in Buruburu, I was very curious because I was the 10th of 17 children. So I used to look at the kids, 9 kids in front of me.
Yes.
And the 7 kids behind me. So I was like the bridge. So I had to swing between the two.
Yes.
So everybody used to tell me their things and issues or stories. So I became like an archivist without knowing. So that's no wonder when I was writing My Son of the Nile, it was very easy because I had the records of all these guys. In those days, I used to be fascinated with something called UFO, unidentified flying objects.
Yes,
so I would always watch programs or read in the almanac. We didn't have Google those days. So I'd always look at what are these all extraterrestrial things and crazy stuff. But one of my brothers, Victor, the late Victor Otieno, Warria, used to have a lot of books. And one of the books he used to have was called The Origin of the Human Species. It was talking about how humanity came from Homo habilis, Homo erectus, then Homo sapiens. So I was very curious about how we were formed. So biology became a very good subject to me and my nature and surrounding. And my mother was very keen of saying, you should not just call something by saying by what you don't know. Always call a spade a spade.
Yes.
Meaning, if you're deconstructing something, you don't need to say I'm destroying it, but you need to say I'm dismantling it. Because something that you're dismantling, you can put it back. But when you're destroying it, you'll break it and it's done.
Yes.
So I became very particular about paying attention to words.
Yes.
And the other day somebody asked me, what would you like to be written on your epitaph? I said, I'd like you to write words. Because that's what has defined me.
Yes.
And between orators or warriors, or the person who always wins at the end of the day is the orator, or the writer, or the storyteller. And I'm glad that even right now at Africa's Talking, I'm serving as a chief storyteller.
Yes.
Because we want to tell these stories. Yes. And we want to be honest and authentic. And we want to keep each other honest.
Yes.
And that's why when you ask me about my childhood, one of the strangest things that happened is that President Daniel Arap Moi invited me to be one of the children who sings to him at State House. I was only 9 years old.
What?
So you can imagine when you're 9 years old and President Moi sends Iveco buses. Iveco buses are green NYS buses made in Japan, which used to have orange seats.
Yes.
And President Moi precisely bought this for his Nyayo kids. There were 2,000 of them.
What?
So
across the country?
2,000 kids across the country. Moi ordered that certain kids with certain characteristics be picked and be going to sing for him in all the public holidays. So I was one of them who were called the Nyayo kids. The late Okoth, who was the MP for Kibra, was one of them. But I was very fortunate at that age of 9 and 10. They selected me to be the leader of the 2,000 kids. So we used to go to the stadium to practice every Saturday.
Yes.
And we used to write on the Nyayo Stadium, 10 years of Nyayo era.
Yes.
And I was the one who was leading all the 2,000 kids. So we used to go with this beat. Te terere, te terere, te te te, te terere, te terere, te te te. Then we write 10 years of Nyayo era. And they even made it more spectacular by asking us to cover ourselves with white sheets.
I remember seeing that on TV.
Yes, so when we all lie down.
I don't know if you're performing there or something.
No, I was always there. So we always lie down and it looked like beautiful flamingos. Whenever we were bending, people would think they're flamingos because we were all dressed in white caps, white shirts, white shorts, white shoes, white socks. And then President Moi put us at Kenya Institute of Administration for 1 month to train.
Yes.
And he used to come there to play soccer with us. So I became very comfortable with authority in terms of, and even great leaders. And I'm not shy in front of anybody, including the Queen of England, because Moi built a lot of confidence in us. We became supremely self-confident because Moi would invite President Siad Barre, President IBB Babangida, and he was big and wearing military fatigue. So we saw all these guys, President Mugabe, the ambassador of the US then, Ambassador Aurelia, Brazil. And then I was just only 10 years old.
And I'm like asking myself back at the back of my mind, you know, I've seen you perform. I've seen you, engage people.
Yes.
And one of the things that comes out clearly is that you take your place and own it.
Of course.
That's the way you are. There's steady.
Yes. Yeah, there's presence.
Yes,
so Arap Moi taught us the idea about presence. And I'll actually quote one of the American women I was dating.
Yes. Dating.
Yes. Yeah, I'll tell you this because it's important. She asked me, I asked her, what do you want from me? Because she's always very persistent. So one day she just looked at me straight in the eye and said, I want your presence. I want your presence.
Yes.
Patience and perpetuity.
That's
or permanency. She just said that and gosh, I was like, am I ready to give all this? So whenever I enter, then when I ask her, what does presence mean? Okay, in American English, I ask her, what does this word presence mean?
Yes.
She told me it's the ability to feel a room, a heart, and a mind and space at the same time.
What?
So in my life, I've been blessed with, if I'm in a room or if I'm in a place, I truly want to be present.
Yes.
And to have presence.
Yes.
Because I believe in my life's motto, which is Carpe Diem, seize the day and seize the moment. So I want to make sure, just like River Nile, which is the metaphor of my life, I may not come to that place again. So when I'm there, I want it to count.
Live fully.
And to live fully. Hence, my life's motto is seize the moment, seize the day.
Yes.
And in Latin, they call it Carpe Diem.
Carpe Diem. Now,
so I've not finished about the schools.
Yes, go ahead.
So I had the extraordinary opportunity to go to Strathmore for 6 months to do CPA. Then I went to South Plains College in the US, and I went to Bard College, which used to be part of Columbia University. Then I had an opportunity to go to Princeton, where I was chosen as a Public Policy and International Affairs Fellow. And I have a standing invitation there to go anytime to study. And so what I wanted to do after completing some of my exploits in Africa, I wanted to go and complete a series of degrees at Princeton.
Teddy, you're not doing this justice because I want to hear that experience.
Yes.
If it's Lenana,
I see.
Still Lenana.
Oh, you want to? Oh, I see. I see.
Because the reason for this, there's no hurry for this. You can do this until we are done. You'll never be done because you're still alive. But if it's Lenana, I'm sure there are kids out there, right, who would wish, whether it's like their dream to be at Lenana.
Yes.
How is that life? How do you even survive? What is Lenana? When you go to Lenana, what do you expect?
So
did they meet your expectation? How was that life? How did you survive? How do you make it to the next level?
Excellent. That's a fantastic question. Lenana actually was one of the Maasai chieftains or leaders, the Oloibonis. Lenana is the third highest peak of Mount Kenya, which is a mountain we take a great deal of pride in.
Yes.
And Oloibon Lenana was one of the leaders of the Maasai at the onset of the colonialists coming to Kenya. So he was tricked into giving that land, which was 250 acres, to the then British governor in Kenya. I believe he was called Sir Michael Phillips.
Yes.
So he was given that land to build Lenana. But Lenana, for the purposes of the people who don't know, it's the only school probably in the world which was started in a state house.
Say that again.
For all intents and purposes, for those who do not know, Lenana School is perhaps the only school in the world which was started at a state house.
That is Kenyan State House?
So Lenana was started in 1949 at the Nairobi State House. Then it was called the Governor's House or something. But the first boarders of the school for maybe 1 or 2 years, they boarded and lived at State House.
Wait a minute. So I know where Lenana School is.
Yes.
And I know where State House is.
Exactly.
Which one moved?
Actually, the boys used to move from State House. They moved from State House to their current location in Karen, on Gong Road.
Okay.
So, but they used to live in State House, Nairobi. In the State House that Mr. Kenyatta lives now.
Do you mean they were like boarding?
They were boarding and eating there and living there and doing everything there.
With the president or with the
governor? The governor of the day, who was like the president of this colony.
Okay,
that's a historical record.
You see now why we could not.
I'm happy. I didn't want to. Want to go into my elitism, but there's the idea of elite and elitism.
Yes,
I am an elite, but I don't embrace elitism. Meaning, because of merit, I've gotten to certain places, but I don't like to define myself by everything that comes from those institutions or places. But I'm extremely privileged.
Yes.
And in life, you need two things. If you have privilege, power, and money, all the doors will be open unto you.
Yes.
So I have privilege, which has come to become power and eventually to end up becoming money.
Yes.
But just to go back to the story of Lenana, the motto of Lenana is nothing but the best. Meaning nihil praeter optimum in Latin. It's one of the only few schools in Kenya or Africa that has a Latin motto. And because the original language of the text,
I'm not sure if my school has Latin. Greek or Latin.
What is it? Can you remember?
Sindera Tagam.
Yeah, probably that sounds like Latin. Yeah, but the idea is that those schools they are the pioneering schools. So the British military,
it's a whole school.
Exactly.
Yeah. 1950 or something.
In fact, Lenana is not the reason why it's called Lenana School and not Lenana High School.
Yes,
is because it's an institution unto itself.
Yes,
we used to have kids from all over Kenya.
Yes,
and we're the only school, when it was transferred to Ngongro, that has a railroad passing through it. Meaning children from the white settler farmers from Nakuru, they used to be brought by train, and the train, even before it gets to Nairobi, CBD, it used to drop them at Lenana School. That is how big of a deal the privilege was. The other privilege was that we used to be washed for our clothes. So in my entire Lenana school career, I never washed my clothes. We used to have laundry machines, and the workers used to take the clothes twice a week.
I think I've heard that story.
It's a true story. So if you look at my hands, if you look at my hands,
smooth as
these hands are for writing and for maybe holding cutlery only.
Yes.
So we were brought up in the form of English nobility.
Yes.
And that was a tradition.
Yes.
And we were brought up as the next leaders of the continent, of the country. And so they felt that cleaning things will be wasting our time. So we used to focus on academic work and on plays and on rhetoric. Like you are taught how to speak. You are taught how to play rugby or soccer or tennis or squash or cricket. So we were brought in that tradition.
Yes.
And we were also brought to pronounce things the right way.
Yes.
We were brought like young gentlemen, so to speak.
Yes.
And in any country, I know certain people sometimes focus on physics, chemistry, biology, and all other subjects.
Yes.
But in Lenana, they also focus on rhetoric. How do you speak? Do you speak clearly and with authority? Do you speak clearly and with persuasion?
Yes.
Do you know how to negotiate? Do you know how to lead with words? And then after that with actions? Is your word your bond? Hence the whole idea of nothing but the best. So that the whole boy in mind, soul, and body is set for all opportunities in the world. So that's how they were forming the Lenana boy in character and also in intellect. It was not just one without the other.
Yes.
Both of them worked well together like bread and butter. So we became all-rounded. And one of the most beautiful things we used to do is when we went to the chapel service, I think it used to be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they used to ask me to read the Bible verse from the lectern. It was an elongated lectern made of floral, plain gold lectern. And that
I think we have read some of those.
Yes, and that was donated by donated by King George VI.
Yes.
Who also built Kenyatta National Hospital, where I was born in 1978. So most of my life I did things on Gong Road because I was born at KNH. I went to Lenana, which is also on Gong Road. So all these things are on Gong Road. But the kind of training Lenana gave us, we were trained and molded to be leaders of the world, not just leaders of Kenya, and to be ready for anything.
Yes.
And because of the expanse of Lenana, it's 250 acres. I became supremely self-confident and creative because I was mixing with boys from all over Kenya, from all
the cultures.
Yes. And so I developed a deep appreciation for Kenya as a nation and Kenya as a people.
Yes.
And even some of the boys from Pokot who never used to know how to use modern water closet. The teachers actually showed them how this water closet work and even how to use things like tissue paper.
Wow.
Even to use a fork or a knife.
But they're smart.
They are book smart. Yes. They scored all A's in their Kenyan Certificate of Primary Education.
Yes.
They're excellent in that, but they didn't know these rudiments of life because they had never even worn shorts or trousers or even belts.
And their cultures contributed mostly to that.
Exactly. Yeah. And but what I also appreciated a lot, we used to learn a lot of Maasai songs. Like Laleyo, Laleyo, Oe ho, Laleyo, 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 things like that. So even until now, in almost all the tribes of Kenya, I know their songs because we used to have house events, festivals where we competed against the other 10 houses. I was in Kenyatta House, which was next to the barrier. We never even had a gate those days because they believed any Lenana student should walk out of the barrier and just come back at the right time. So we're not
disciplined,
we're gentlemen.
I've also heard that story in some way.
So we had the privilege between 4 and 6.
Yes.
You could even go to Nairobi CBD and come back as long as you came before supper, because supper was served strictly at from 6 to 6:20.
Yes.
And then you had to go for the preps at 7 p.m. Up to 10 p.m.
Yes.
So the day began at 5 a.m. where you had to ring the bell.
Yeah.
So the boys had turns on who rings the bell to wake up each other every day. And then from 5 a.m., you ring the bell, then you wake up. The first thing you did was to open your windows so that you let in the fresh air.
Yes.
The second thing you then made...
This is for everyone.
For every boy, for all the 1,000 boys.
Yes.
So strictly you'd open your window, mop your area where your bed is.
Yes.
Then go and do garden work.
Yes.
You water the plants and flowers. Then you come, you take a shower.
Yeah.
Then at exactly 6, you go for breakfast.
Yes.
6 to 6:20.
Yes.
And from 6:20, because I was 1 mile from the app school where the tuition blocks were, would walk for about 20 or 30 minutes to get, because it's a long distance.
Yes.
Then we went to the tuition block. From 7 to 8, we did morning prep. Then we went to parade where all the boys gathered at from 8 to about 8:30 or 8 to 9.
Yes.
Then we'd meet all the boys, sing the school song as the first thing.
Yes.
The line used to go like, thoughts and days shall bide with task. Keep the rose bright, your emblem. Save the trash, dear Lord, we ask. For nihil pride optimum, which means nothing but the best. So that was done on a daily basis.
That is school national
song.
anthem.
Every single day. It's actually 3 stanzas, but I only sang 1.
Yeah.
So we became very focused in life because we knew we were expected to be nothing but the best.
Yes.
So that was done. That song, we sang it over 4 years.
Yes.
So by the time we're done, we really were well spanned to be anything we want to be.
Yes.
And to face anybody that we need to face around the world.
Yes.
Then from 9 to 10, I think we had classes. Then tea break from 10 to 10:20. Then classes ran until noon. Then from noon to 12:20, I think we had lunch. After lunch, we had a siesta. Then 2, you need to be again in class.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
You guys had a siesta?
Yes, to make the food digest.
How many minutes?
About 1 hour, so that the food can digest.
And everyone goes to like...
To siesta, to sleep and rest.
Come on now.
Yes, after that.
Come on now. I wish, Lenana, you didn't lose that. Because that sounds like
fantastic.
A well-organized, disciplined way of doing this.
Then after that, from 2 to 4, would be in class. And some of the interesting teachers, like the one who taught me Swahili, the late B. Salome Kuvuna Maneno, would say, when I'm teaching you these 2 Swahili literature lessons, they call fasihi.
Yes.
I say, I don't want to teach you in classroom.
Yeah.
Let's go beneath the tamarind tree. And I'll teach you for those 80 minutes. And it was fantastic. So a lot of kids in our class in Fasihi, they almost got all A's, all her boys, because we understood the whole story.
It was an experience.
It was a totally experience. Yes. And every day she walked into the class, the days she did it in class, she always entered and pinched me. Then I would say, Mwalimu niache, teacher leave me. But I didn't realize that she was doing that out of affection. So every day she came in, she pinched me. Yeah. And when I was leaving the school, she wrote me a fantastic poem called Heri, which means good luck wherever you do, because if you're somebody who loves the Almighty, your life will be blessed. So she gave me blessings before I left.
Yes.
And then the other thing that happened is that we used to go for functions when I was in Lenana. And because I have a lilting bass or baritone, so a lot of the ladies from the neighboring schools, from Precious Blood to the Kenya High School, Nairobi Girls School, Seattle Girls, Limuru Girls, they liked how I spoke. So I became a recipient of a lot of letters. From
every Friday or every day?
Every day, because they were always read at the parade. So every day my
you
house
are the
captain,
goat.
yes, the goat. Yes, so they're always reading my name. And so they wondered, this kid is receiving a lot of letters.
Yes.
And I had also a pen pal from Norway. She still is there. She's called Christine Maestral Vatland.
Yes.
I've known her for more than 17 years. In fact, I was born on May 17, which is the Independence Day of Norway. So a lot of Norwegians used to send me a lot of birthday cards because I was born on that day. And because my pen pal Christine, who came from a place called Bergen, Bergen is the place Dr. Mukisa Kitui stayed when he escaped Kenya. He went to Bergen and stayed there, and met his wife there, I believe. So they kept on writing to me. And so Lenana was a special place in that.
There's something that is really interesting, Teddy.
Yes.
Were you punished when you were a kid? Were you punished in school? Were you punished in high school?
So I like that because I don't know.
Or how were you? Because your life sounds like you're on a holiday, and that's high school.
Yes.
So and the way I know African culture and how discipline is shared around.
I like that.
So I'm curious.
So this is actually, I'm happy you raised this question because I was sharing with somebody actually 2 days ago in the village.
Yes.
That whenever teachers saw that I was in trouble and I was either kneeling as a part of punishment, that we were supposed to be caned, especially at Lenana, they would excuse all the boys. They were afraid because they never wanted to hurt me or to even cane me.
Why?
They held me in a certain way. Maybe they thought I was special to them. So they never wanted to cane me. So if you ask any old boy of Lenana if Teddy was ever caned, they'll tell you he was never caned.
So you were never caned?
I was never caned in Lenana. Maybe only once by the principal when he caned everybody because he was doing it so that we know who he is.
He was establishing power.
He was establishing power. But that is the only time. But all the other teachers, whenever it was an issue to cane students and I was part of the whatever, they would shy away. So in fact,
maybe you are Moise. You know, Moise also was something. Yeah. Moise child, this is a guy who...
we didn't drag it there, but the people knew that. But I think also because I was just being Teddy, as I call it. So what happened is that the teachers, I think, liked me a lot.
Yeah.
I think when I did my book here, you met one of them.
Yes, I met her.
Miss
and
Dora.
She spoke profoundly about
exactly, because she was, even when she was writing my letter of recommendation to the US, she wrote a magnificent letter.
She is the one who wrote the recommendation.
She wrote the letter. And because most of them didn't know how to write the letters, I brought a copy of the New York Times obituary. This I'm revealing today. Because I found when people died in the US, they were praising them in a way I've never seen. In fact, they call it an encomium. It's not even a eulogy. It's higher than a eulogy. It's the highest form of praise. It's called an encomium.
Encomium.
Yes.
I'm learning that word.
Thank you.
yes.
So I was giving them this. I was saying, if you want to write about me, don't be shy. Don't just say Teddy was hardworking or Teddy was a keen student. Tell them that I was in complete control of my intellectual arena.
What?
So such kind of words.
That's a form for...
Yes, and I was coaching them. Yes, so she knows that, and all the teachers knows that. And so I did for a lot of these, and I ended up writing New Horizons, a guide to applying to colleges in the US. Yes. And even I put templates of recommendation letters because I knew these teachers didn't know how to write this because this was new to them. This was very American.
And that is Lenana.
So Lenana, we believe that you don't even need a college degree to lead. That's why even if people were chasing after Senator Sakaja, they were wasting their time because at the height of Lenana, when Lenana was always Lenana, the Form 4 degree is even enough.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't even know that the late Dr. Richard Leakey, who was the foremost paleontologist in the world, he didn't have any degree.
And did he go to Lenana?
He only went to Lenana until Form 4, and he used to be one of the last students at Lenana in performance.
And he achieved
achieved that. Okay, well, he learned a few of the things from his parents, Louis Leakey and Meave, and so he knew.
But you also have to be smart to be able to learn.
Exactly, so. And he wrote probably one of the most authoritative books on the Agikoyo of Kenya. But what I'm trying to say is that Lenana opened. We used to have telescopes to gaze to the skies above. So our life was not just terrestrial. And we used to have also a big swimming pool.
So your dream of UFOs was realized there?
It was realized there. Yes. And we used to have like 10 laboratories, or not just
well-equipped
laboratories. And we used to have engines of planes, cars for power mechanics. We used to have metal workshops, wood workshops. So I know how to do dovetail joints. I know how to do welding. And so I came out fully ready for the world. So I'm very thankful for that experience. But most importantly, they taught me to be amongst the leaders of that time and feel completely comfortably around them, among them, and with them.
Yes.
So that carried wherever I went, I was always
show. And it still ready. Shows, by the way.
Yeah. So I have that in me, and I thank Lenana for that.
Yes.
And And also another strange thing, because the teachers, like, for example, my math teacher, Mrs. Sarah Juma.
Yes.
So if, say, I broke my spectacles, because there are a lot of boys there and we used to play rugby and other games. Instead of sending me home to go and get glasses, she would just put me in her car and go and buy glasses with her own money at Optica. Isn't that crazy?
What do you mean?
I'm telling you the
dumbstruck.
truth. It is true. It has happened, and she's still alive.
Yes.
So she can verify. And even one of the other craziest things that happened when I was at Lenana, the principal, Mr. Samuel Maneno, who is now in Kwale.
Yes. Is he still a principal?
He's still alive, and he's in his 80s, early 80s now. He's retired. Yeah. I think he runs Sawa Academy in Kwale. So one time he surprised me by giving me the keys to his office.
Have the access.
Yeah, to have the access. So I would go there from time to time to have tea. But little did I know he was actually grooming me to become the chapel prefect or to become one of the leaders in the school.
An honest leader.
An honest leader. So I did that. And he also surprised me. And then later when he stopped being principal of Lenana, he moved to Buruburu Phase 5.
Yes.
We used to live in Buruburu Phase 1. He actually used to send me to his post office box to get him his letters in town, or to do for him, run his errands immediately after Form 4.
Yes.
And of course he'd pay me.
Yes.
So I was still being trained. So I saw Lenana for me as a place where I was being trained to be a leader, and specifically to be a servant leader.
Yes.
And they gave me opportunities 3 times a week, Thursday, Tuesday, and Saturday, to speak to the whole school.
Yes.
So the principal deliberately did that. So I gave more than 735 speeches when I was in Lenana.
Yes.
So when I went to the US, it was very easy for me to address a lot of audiences and all that kind of thing. And Lenana was also beautiful to me in the sense of I love chemistry and biology until today.
Yes.
So I used to read a book called M.V. Roberts.
Yes.
It's a book which used to be read for the 6th form. And in physics, I read a book called, it's an Abbott book. And so I used to enjoy those subjects.
Yeah, I know Abbott.
So I went through Abbott 7 times. Yeah. So in fact, until now.
And it's a large book.
Yes. I know a lot of the concepts and the laws of physics, which I apply in my life.
Yes.
So I apply, in fact, even action is equals reaction, for example. It applies in everything I do. Say, for example, if I take 3 years to write a book, I'll take 3 years to market it. So I always follow those laws of science, which is really laws of life.
Yes.
And Lenana being as big as it was is also when I saw the disparities of the rich and poor.
Yes.
Because, for example, when I first went to Lenana in 1993, when my mother was going back to the city, she was given a lift by Mrs. Muchilwa, the late Mrs. Muchilwa.
Yes.
And my mother told me she was surprised that this lady, her husband then was an MP, Sheldon Muchilwa, the Honorable Sheldon Muchilwa, MP for Emuhaya.
Yes.
My mother told me that she bought 9 kilos of meat.
For what?
To take back home. Yes, that's to just show you, because she was dropping my mother in town.
Yes.
And her house was in State House Road.
Yes.
So my mother just told me she's never seen somebody buy so much meat at once.
Yes. 9 kg back then is a feat.
It's a feat. But there were many children in the house, as well.
Yes.
But also there, as I said, there are kids who had never worn shoes for the first time. There were kids who were coming with portable electronic Bibles. And then there was a guy called Simba. I think his father was then the chairman of the National Bank. So he used to come with dollars, a lot of dollars. So when he went to the tuck shop, he'd always buy for all the boys bread and butter.
And still...
And remain with a lot of money. So if you were lucky to be at the tuck shop at the time he was...
You are eating.
You're eating. So this was there for the whole year round.
At least he was generous.
Yes, he was generous. So there was even the sons of of Sharif Nasir, Delmas Otieno. So we were in school with a lot of these cabinet ministers' kids. Even though most of them did not come the right way, they came through the back door. But nonetheless, there were students there, and they were filthy rich.
So it was not about smartness anymore.
Yes, so we experienced that, people who are extremely wealthy. And during my time at Lenana, there were even Japanese and Asian kids who were studying at Lenana because it was as elite as that. So people really wanted their kids to be there.
And the question that I beg to ask is, the last time I visited Lenana a couple of times, one of those times I was in charge of the new Kim's kit from IBC. So I was setting up some of them in that area.
Yes.
It doesn't really look like Lenana.
Right now.
That you are spoken about.
Yes, I think over time it was mismanaged.
Yes.
And that's sad.
Yes.
And there's nothing much you could do about it because all boys try to intervene. But when the animal, or the monster, or the beast that never gets full, which is called corruption, invades an institution or a place, you can't help it. Because now even those guys started using firewood. Can you believe it?
And that has never been.
We always used to use gas.
Even back
then. So how do you start using firewood? And then you cut the trees from the Lenana forest to provide...
doing deforestation around the
deforestation, which is dead wrong.
Yes.
And from a school that used to use LPG, then you start using that to cut corners. And then we used to get all the milk from the grade cattle in the school.
The farm, yeah.
Apparently some of the principals sold the cows.
And of course, maybe pocketed the money.
Then now you have to buy milk from, what is it called?
The dairy?
The dairy. You have to buy milk from the dairy farms or companies.
Yes.
Yet we used to produce 100% of our milk to be consumed by the students who used to consume milk.
Sad state.
It's a sad state. However, I think lately we're making a comeback.
Yes.
I think I saw good buses. There's a new dormitory called Mandela House, which I think Prime Minister Raila Odinga was instrumental in making sure we got 45 million shillings to build it.
Yes.
In fact, when I was cooperating and collaborating with him, I surprised all the Lenana old boys and the principal by bringing Raila Odinga. He was then the Prime Minister of Kenya.
Yes.
And he came 30 minutes before time during the first Mashujaa Day.
Yes.
Because he came to honor Laibon Lenana.
Yes.
In 2010.
Yes.
October, on the eve of Mashujaa Day.
October 19th.
Odinga, yes, I brought him to Lenana. And we have a wonderful speech called Nothing But the Best that he gave there, that I still have it on record. But because...
Did you write that one?
I don't know. How do you know a lot of these things?
we will get there. It's a no hurry. No hurry. You tell us about all those speeches.
And there are many more. But he's one of the people who has always honored my invitations.
Yes.
After that, when in 2010, 2011, when he was Prime Minister, and we had established Africa 2.0.
Yes.
The Right Honorable Raila Odinga actually came to the office.
Yes.
To launch Africa 2.0 in Mombasa.
Yes.
And even when he lost the presidency in 2013, Africa 2.0, to honor him, we invited him to Addis Ababa at the AU for 1 week so that he relaxes and he gives speeches, and we took him to a big football stadium and he had a good time there. And little do we know, a few years later, they named him to be a special envoy for infrastructure for AU. But we always pushed him to the idea of a connected and united Africa working together. And I traveled to a lot of countries with him. So that's something I'm also very proud of.
Yes.
And I'm proud of the fact that he listens to me.
Yes.
And he's been good to me.
Yes.
And so whenever I hear people say, what chances does Mr. Raila or Right Honorable Raina gives to the youth?
Yes.
He's always given me. And I've always given opportunities to so many youth.
Yes. And that begs me to ask you a very pertinent question, because this is a tech ecosystem podcast.
Yes.
Given the close interaction, close working with Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga, do you think he believes in tech ecosystem? And if it does, what has he done all the time he had those opportunities? Because he has really gotten close. He has no, I don't think there's anyone who has been so close to presidency and center of power more than Raila Odinga.
Yeah. Thank you. So I'll begin this way. The first person who told me about Truecaller is actually Odinga's son, the late Fidel Macarius Odhiambo Odinga. And the first person who ever had me use his iPad was actually Odinga, because he had it even before a lot of people had it.
Yes.
And people didn't know that he knows how to use an iPad. But he's always used one.
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
And what is also very instructional is that when Bitangen Demo, Dr. Bitangen Demo was PS for ICT in Kenya, Odinga let him, I think, was he there at the time of Odinga or before? I'm not quite sure. But that time they landed the fiber.
I think he was there.
Yes, so Odinga was always cooperating. In fact, he was there because this is what Bitange used to tell us, that whenever he gave Odinga a brief, Odinga would actually give him permission.
Yes.
So to have somebody like that give you permission, first, permission to bring the broadband, so that at least we are now almost 95% coverage of broadband.
Yes.
Secondly, to allow an easy way to allow Safaricom to be given licenses to operate as a mobile money transfer. In a lot of countries that could not have been accepted. So what Odinga does best that people don't realize and know, he's very good at making structures that carry the majority of people. For example, he did the counties or the federal system in Kenya. And right now I know there's the ICT bill, which he opposed. He asked the president not to consent it. So I don't know if that happened or not. But it's so that it would not be good for the ecosystem.
Yes.
And the other thing that he has done is that he's given a lot of access for training for a lot of techies. So he's been open. Yeah, so he's been open.
Well, I have my way of looking at things. And one of the things is that everything I hear about Raila Odinga, there is a third party involved.
Yes, which third party is this?
Like, for instance, what he did with Bitange.
Yes.
There's some guys who would argue, okay, Mwai Kibaki was in power, and that is,
yes.
With the the ICT bill, he had to ask someone else to he could not intervene at the process of even debating it, passing it, following it up.
Yes.
He had to wait until the
end.
Even the president himself, most of the tech guys would ask, why would the president wait until it comes on his desk?
Yes.
Whereas we know he has the majority of the MPs, he has the majority of the people who actually passes it to that level.
Yes.
But that's debatable. So I'll not dwell on that. And I wish if he wins come 9th, then maybe we can see the change. So guys, for those who don't know, this is recorded in July. So
I like that. I like that.
But Teddy, let's even dwell on you, because you are a legend on yourself. So
thank you.
Let's not talk about people who are not here. There's one thing that I've always meant to ask you, and I'm sure most of the people who will be listening to this will benefit a lot on this. How did you come to master English, the Queen's language?
Oh, I see. So
what's the secret?
I told you before that. So when I was very young, I'm the 10th of 17 children.
Yes.
So at home we spoke mostly English. No, actually we spoke the Luo, which is my native language.
Yes.
And we spoke Swahili.
Yes.
My father has been deeply influenced by the Sukumas of Tanzania.
Yes.
Because he lived in Tanzania for a long time.
Yes.
But my father had a way of, when he was reading the newspaper, which is every day, my father would read it out loud to me. And my father was taught by a Scottish missionary.
Yes.
The late it's called Bwana Ines at in Nyakach, where I come from. So he was the only student as an apprentice for almost 12 years. So my father developed an almost Scottish accent when he was speaking his English. And of course, because I'm his son, then I imitated, or I spoke the way my father spoke. So that was the first thing.
Your parent played a key role.
Exactly. Then my mother intentionally read for me something. There's a book called Archie and Sabrina. And there's also a book called Nancy Drew. There's the novels. And there's a book called Asterix and Obelix. So Asterix was a lot of adventures in the seas. And they're cartoon strips.
Yes.
So my mother used to make me race in who can read the strip faster. So I used to read it very fast. And she used to compete with me. But sometimes she'd let me win.
Yes.
So that I think I'm better than her. Then my mother never wrote any letter with her hand. If she's supposed to write a letter to her grandmother, or from my grandmother or grandfather, she'd always dictate it.
To you?
And then I write it. She's dictating and I'm writing.
Yes. So you also mastered the writing.
What I didn't know, she was training me how to write with comprehension and with understanding and to know my spelling.
What they call oral skills nowadays.
Oral skills, exactly. Yes. So I became very good at that. So in primary school,
yes,
in spite of the fact that I was having eye challenges,
yes,
one thing I never got wrong was my reading test. Everything was always correct.
Yes.
Because my parents had already taught me how to read things clearly and authoritatively.
Yes.
Then they also did something else. There used to be a book called Reader's Digest.
Yes.
So Reader's Digest is a small magazine that came...
It's still there even after
that
today.
came, yes, once a month. So they have something called Word Power.
You could get it in Kenya?
Yes, my parents used to order it
I used to see that
in the post office.
But
yes.
nowadays...
So they used to have it, like they send it to you almost as a correspondence. So every month you get it on the post. And my fondest job as a kid at home, I used to be sent to the post office. And guess where? Guess where I used to be sent? From Buruburu to Likoni Road. And I used to walk. That's about 5 kilometers, yes. Because my father used to work at Print Park, which is next to House of Manji. So that's where the post office boxes were. And those days, if you have a post office box, you're very rich.
You are the real deal.
You're the real deal. So I used to, so my parents used to give me about 2 shillings.
Yeah.
So that I buy maize or mandazi along the road to go to the post office.
Some snacks. African snacks.
Snacks, exactly. And I used to buy those.
Yes.
But on my way, there used to be the Eastlands Library, which is used to be there. So I used to stop there and read a book or pick a book. They used to give you 2 weeks so that you can return them.
Yes, yes.
So it was a continuous activity of learning every day.
Yes.
And what a lot of people don't know too is that I probably was the youngest newspaper seller in Kenya when I was about 10 because I was very precocious.
Okay.
So on Rabai Road, which is just next to our house in Buruburu Phase 1, it's a road where the number 23 used to have its stage.
Yes.
So that's just next to my house in Buruburu.
Yes.
What used to happen is that every Saturday, the newspaper man used to have me as his newspaper vendor when he's going for lunch or when he's taking any break.
Yes.
So he used to pay me 175 cents per day. So that was a lot of money in the 80s. But I used to read the entire newspaper on Saturday, the whole thing.
Yes.
And then my friend Otieno, who was then at Starehe Boys, told me, always read the editorial first. So even at age 10 and 11.
Why?
Because that has first it had the cartoon for the day. So it's a light touch and it's entertaining. Then it had the summary of the whole newspaper to the left. So once I've read that, I'll have known everything that is going on in the country that day. Yeah. Then in the evening when my father came from work, he'd also read the paper with me, the sports side and other segments.
Yes.
So he'd read that out loud and I'd ask him, what does this word mean? What's this? So
you comprehend.
And then I did a lot of the crosswords and also those kind of things. But of course, much later I started doing Sudokus because my sister Judy Warria likes that. So that newspaper has always been part of me.
Yeah.
So this helped me a lot so that when I was doing my SATs to go to the US, the verbal reasoning was so easy for me.
Yes.
And
the comprehension.
The comprehension. And that's the toughest part of the ACT.
Yeah.
And that's what I taught.
Oh, you did ACT?
I did ACTs. I not only did ACTs, but the way I made my first 1 million shillings in the year 2000, between August and December, I used to tutor people ACTs. In fact, the founder of Africa Stocking, one of the founders, Eston Kimani, I tutored him for 9 months.
So that
and
he
got
be able
the
to
95th percentile in ACTs, verbal reasoning and mathematical reasoning, which is one of the highest worldwide, and it helped him get to 6 of the 8 Ivy League schools. Yeah, this
Teddy,
is...
Teddy, I know you have flown some of our brightest mind out there.
Of course.
And I want us to have a session on that. Like, what does it take? Yes, how is that process? Why? Because me, I'm always interested, like, why? Like,
actually, the reason why I did that, which I can answer in brief. There are some companies that came later, like Andela, which were poaching or getting African talent and sending them to work for American tech companies.
Yes.
But they needed to have a foundation by teaching people how tech works.
Yes.
For me, at that period in 2000,
yes,
I realized, because that time there was this story that we were going to have, that all the systems will shut down.
Yes.
I forget what the 2000 bug.
Yes, the millennium.
The millennium bug.
Yes.
So I was wondering, if we don't have the right skills in Kenya or in Africa, and we have this millennium bug kind of thing, how are you going to manage?
Yes.
How are we going to live amongst other communities or the nations of the world?
Yes.
So I said the best thing for me is to go and take talent to the US, then bring them back. So what I was doing even at that time, which I was only, I think I was 20 or 21, I was probably 20 years old.
Yes.
Or 19.
Yes.
What I told them, including Eston, Bilha, all the guys I worked with, Bill and Dirango, Eston,
yes,
Irene, Mudoni,
yes,
Linda Mwende.
Yes.
Linda is now working for Google.
Yes.
All these guys, I told them to tell me they'll come back and work home in Kenya. So they, unfortunately,
it was like a promise.
It's like a promise.
Falling forward. They call it falling forward.
Exactly.
Or paying forward.
Paying forward. And because for me, I was operating from keeping myself honest, I thought they also would keep the words they said.
Yes.
So there's only one person who more or less kept his word.
Yes.
And that was Eston Kimani.
Yes.
Who came back.
Yes.
But also for some Gikani, in a most unusual of ways.
Yes.
And in maybe a mystery of life.
Yes.
Before I went to the US, my father had just died.
Yes.
God rest his soul in peace. It's called George Edward Warria.
Yes.
I worked for Electronics and Infotech, which was run by engineer Kipsang Choge. So I got Victor Kilu.
That was a local company?
It was a telco, more or less. They were getting almost all the tenders from the defunct Kenya Post and Telecommunications Communication, because my boss then, engineer Kipsang Choge, had been the area manager for Nairobi for Kenya Post and Telecommunications.
Yes.
But he saw an opportunity to create his own business because he'd do tenders and win tenders for this company.
Yes.
Which he was making a lot of money.
Yes.
So I used to work for him and with him, and I used to earn 3,000 at that time, which is a lot of money.
Yes.
Because he used to buy for me lunch and give me transport on top of that. So when I was leaving when I was doing my thing, I found so much information that when his son, Nathaniel Choge, came to Kenya, he said, Teddy, I want us to do a project. Why don't we put all these things together into a book, which forms a guide for applying to colleges in the US. So we put it together in something called New Horizons, a practical guide to applying to universities in the US.
Yes.
That has helped thousands of people.
So it's there?
It's still there, and it's free and it's online. If you Google New Horizons, a practical guide to applying to colleges in the US, you'll find it there. Even our own CFO here, Moshemi, used it. A lot of people have used it, even without my help, because it's
could scale.
Yes, it could scale. It's a step-by-step guide.
Yes.
And in fact, next year I plan to put a website on it so that it can scale across Africa.
Yes,
and Africans can apply without worry to any university in the US and get in.
Yes.
Because I basically call it, I broke the code to get into the Ivy League school and MIT.
Yes.
In fact, the first year when Sam and Eston went and others, I took 6 people to MIT that year, which was 2001, even before going to the US myself.
Amazing. So you use yourself as a stepping stone for these guys.
Exactly. Actually a bridge.
Yes. You are a bridge.
Yeah, I was a bridge because even Flora, who was one of the top students, went to MIT at that time. Sam went to MIT. And that's why Africa's Talking was born in a dorm room at MIT. So I usually like telling some people the foundations of Africa's Talking was in an MIT dorm room. But somebody had to create that.
Yes.
I created that process.
Yes.
So I'm a co-creator with the founders of Africa's Talking in that regard, which I take a great deal of pride in because we have made it happen.
Yes.
So they went to MIT. They came here and started a revolutionary technology company in Africa.
Yes.
And in fact, when I joined Africa's Talking, I didn't join with any title. Someone just told me, come in, let's work on this company. That time, Sam was working for Morgan Stanley in New York.
Yes.
And I think the only person I met at the office had been Graham.
Yes.
Yeah. So after that, we brought in Zach Mwangi to be head of the technical part of the business.
Yes.
I was the head of business development.
Yes.
And then Graham, we put him something to do with the client service.
Yes.
And Rachel was there as the admin. So that's the way it is. The 2 small rooms opposite Nakumatt Prestige.
We'll get there, Teddy.
Yes. I see. But
I want to know, how was your transition from, high school to now you are doing this, you're acting as a bridge for guys to go study.
Because something interesting happened at that point. So I lost my father in 1997. And everything was dark.
It must be devastating.
I was in darkness because he was our sole breadwinner. I didn't know what to do.
And you looked up to him.
We looked up to him. And then the previous year, I'd also been very sick. I was sick for 6 months. We couldn't know what was the problem. The doctors couldn't find the problem. But I was sick and out of school.
Yes.
So with that, people say that when everything goes wrong,
there's something good coming.
There's something good coming.
It's an African belief.
It's an African belief as well. So I started just having these extraordinary visions or ideas.
Yes.
Like now I said, why can I not get a scholarship to go to the US? And when I first told my father that in 1996, my father thought, I'm dreaming. This kid is, where will I get the money from?
Yes.
But I just told him, I'm going to go to the US.
Yes.
And he could not believe.
So everyone was like, this guy is crazy.
So immediately I started doing this tutoring. Tutoring people. I used to be paid $2,000 per hour.
Yes.
It's a lot of money in 1999.
That's good money, bro.
Yeah.
That's even nowadays I know engineers who are paid less than $20 per hour.
Yes, and I was on demand.
Yeah.
And people were asking me to come to their homes, paying for me taxi. Those days there was no Uber or Bolt. Yeah.
And taxi was expensive.
To my place was about $2,000 one way.
So that's like another.
Yeah. So they were forking 4,000, and I had a lot of customers. And in fact, it's sad that the office got closed. It had most of the records. And my mentor engineer, Kipsang Choge, passed away 2 years ago.
Yes.
But essentially, I did this, and so now people started saying he reminds us of Tom Boyer, who was running the airlift. And so it got quite exciting. And the newspapers covered me and the Young Nation.
Yes.
And they were very excited. So my second major appearance ever in life was on August 27th, 2000.
Yes.
They put me on the front cover of the Young Nation.
Yes.
So it's in my book, Son of the Nile. I've put the clip.
Yes.
Because I wanted to show youngsters that even at that age, you can do something with what you have and create opportunities for millions or thousands of Africans.
Absolutely.
So needless to say, my book is being used by Equity Wings to Fly program.
Yes.
They revised it and they now use it to help more kids.
They give you credits?
We wouldn't talk more about that because I gave it to them. They changed a lot of things in it. Yeah. And I think took ownership of it.
Yes.
But that's something that in my heart and mind, I felt it's like somebody who is photocopying a Bible or a Quran and distributing it to Kenyans.
The impact is the same.
The impact is the same.
Yes, yes.
And in fact, they would help spread my word faster than I possibly could do by myself. So I let that go. And other people were thinking I should, ask them to compensate me or to do ABC, but I didn't feel it was necessary at that point.
I mean, it's fair, and I think that should change with time because at the end of the day, giving credit doesn't cost you nothing. Because at the end of the day, people even understand where does this idea originate. Because if you talk about Tom Boyer today, there's not so much documentation about him, but what he did is there. It's evidence.
It's remarkable.
And
in fact, even coming to Tom Boyer, I was very happy that during the Corona period, there are guys who are usually, I think they work closely with Netflix.
Yes.
It's my friend Salim Amin.
Yes.
He has a company called Camera Peaks. They followed me and did a story of me called Airlift to America.
Yes.
So I think it could most likely be shown on Netflix.
Yes.
But they did one of the best footages about my American journey.
Yes.
So it's 1 hour. Yes. So I think it will be shown sometime in November this year.
Talking about America.
Yeah.
I want to hear that story.
It's called ALA for America. So,
yes.
Believe it or not, they even asked me, I won't divulge everything on the table because
don't preempt.
I won't preempt it. But one of the things that I found interesting that they asked me, they asked me what I thought about gays. And I said that those are human beings.
Yes.
They have made certain choices and they must live with those choices.
Because every choice?
Yes, more or less I stated it in that manner.
Yeah.
Then I told them they should also give me room.
Yes.
Because I'm the 10th of 17th of a polygamous East African family.
Yes.
They should not question the fact that my father had 3 wives.
Yes.
Because it's also a choice that he made.
Yeah.
So that choice should be left like that.
Yes.
She shouldn't be frowned upon or looked upon as if he's a different human.
Yes.
Because even for us, we are not frowning or looking down upon them. We are accepting them as they are.
Yes.
So if they should also accept us Africans, especially the ones who choose to be polygamous, to be polygamous, because it's a more natural form of living.
Yes.
But even theirs, if they have chosen it to be that way, they should live with it in peace.
No one should force each other to adopt.
To adapt to each other's sexual orientation or preferences.
Or cultural norms.
Exactly, or cultural norms. So that's was my take on that.
And that's deep, by the way, if you think about it.
Yes. And I even told them that my priorities are even not even about that. My priority is to build the best possible African talent.
Yes.
And to bring them back to build Africa. So for me, in a big way, Africa's Talking is a dream come true.
Yes.
Because out of it, like our colleague also for Graham Ingoho.
Yes.
When I first met him and he had told me he had never been on a plane, he had never been in an African country.
Yes.
I couldn't believe that we could build an African-oriented company if the employees have never seen other parts of Africa other than Kenya.
Yes.
So that time I took, not even a risk, but I took a leadership decision without apologies.
Executive decision.
And I put him on a plane.
Yes.
And he got into a plane to Nigeria. Of course, we bought the ticket for him. And Ethiopian Airlines used to sponsor our Africa 2.0 trips. So they used to give me 13 free tickets, including business class. And
go anywhere.
Anywhere I want. Extra luggage, anywhere I want in the world. So that happened between 2010 and 2016.
Amazing.
So I said I'll take as many Africans
outside
as possible, as I know, who I think have a great future in the continent.
Yes.
So we went with Graham and we had a time of our lives in Abuja. In Lagos.
Lagos, yeah.
And we actually stayed at the Federal Palace Hotel.
Yes.
And it was the first time I introduced Graham to President General Olusegun Obasanjo.
Yes.
And at that time, I also took my dear friend Jole Geshuru to the event. She had never been to Nigeria. And as you know, when you get into the Nigerian airport, you're swarmed with people, money changers, taxis, and all. And you see, Julie is also very delicate, so we're all there for her. But she did a fantastic African leadership dialogue. That day, and she was one of the MCs. Those days she used to work for Citizen.
Yes.
And she even outdid the CNN anchor at that 4-day Africa 2.0 symposium.
Yes.
So it made me believe that I'm doing the right thing.
Yes.
And with that, I also brought in so many people who are now running most of the agencies in Africa or leading banks from ADB to United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Zera, Songwe, and all these kind of people. Vera Songwe, she's in charge of UNECA and the African infrastructure development as well. We've had different people who have run for the presidencies in their countries. So we have some fantastic alums from that program. Yes. And so in the end, and we're not ashamed of this, Barack Obama, President Barack Obama, the 44th president of the US, invited us to run YALI in West Africa, in 14 West African countries. And I think more or less they adapted the Africa 2.0 manifesto, which has the rallying call that we are the Africans we have been waiting for. So we don't need to wait for anybody else to move the continent forward or to advance it.
We need to do it.
So we need to do it. And we actually did it because the Africa 2.0 manifesto was also adapted by the AU to be something people call Agenda 2063.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Agenda 2063.
Yeah, so we put it together. So if you go to the website of africa2.0.org,
yes,
you'll see the blueprint
that
came before Agenda 2063.
Amazing stuff.
And it's the same thing.
Amazing stuff.
It is the same thing. Can you believe that? So when I tell people...
You mean business when it comes to changing Africa.
Indeed, I mean business, and Africa is talking, and Africa is also doing.
Yes.
And that's why I told people, and I want to tell the youngsters, that when I was a youth, this is what I did for Africa. With the little that I had, this is what we did. And even those days when we were starting Africa's Talking, we're only getting a stipend for like $200, but we were working 16 hours.
And
without complaining.
Putting in work.
Putting in work. And the only break we were taking is that Esson would take me to Galileo's. So we'd go there Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. And we'd dance until 5 a.m. to just take the pressure away.
Because you're putting in work.
Putting in
16
our
hours
lives.
a day.
In fact, I often tell people that for some companies or some things to be built, you have to give your life to it.
Yes.
And so we gave our life to Africa's Talking. We also gave our life to Africa 2.0.
Yes.
That's what I was doing at that time.
Yes.
And I gave it all.
Yes.
And so my belief right now is that we can create a bright continent, because we've always been known as the dark continent.
Yes. Even in the map, when you look at it,
it's still dark. And even if during COVID you saw, or even after you saw the way the planes were going, Africa has just some minimal planes. And numbers compared to all the skylines in the world. So I said that time, I think, in fact, which I look for the document to give it to you at some point, because Eston and I were always discussing often, how can we connect 750,000 Africans from mobile feature phones to the web and back. So hence creating the SMSleopard.com, which is an SMS to web technology. Probably the first one that Africa had. And we used to go to every market from Nyamakima to Sokomjinga. Because we wanted to, even hospitals in Muranga. Muranga District Hospital is the cleanest hospital. But we used to go there to talk to the doctors because there was the issue of diabetes. That time I was not diabetic, but we wanted the patients, instead of coming from Sagana to Muranga District Hospital to check their medical refills, to do all these kind of things, they could always engage the doctors on SMS. So that they can have.
And this is a feature phone.
Yeah, feature phone. That time was, I think, 2011. So the nation covered that we're doing something with rural. We're taking tech to rural Kenya. But we're very excited about that. And so, and then Eston had a kind of I don't know, it's a Daihatsu, but that's a car we used to go with. And the idea is that we're very excited that we're truly building something new for Africa. And we were not sure that even Africa's Talking will live to be 12 years, because when we spoke with the likes of Aisi Makatiani, he was then a giant because he had come up with something called African Online. It was the only dial-up internet that Kenya had. So he told us we were 7 years late. These SMS things, all these things we're doing. Little did he know we were 7 years earlier. Little did he know we were actually 7 years earlier. So because we became the new kid on the block, Matters, Smart SMS, Bulk SMS, and all this. But that was a very good experience for me, because people were getting money from VCs at that time. But my strategy and my thoughts and point was, at that time, I was telling Eston, let us first sell the product.
Let the customer be the investor.
The customer be the investor. And the first one was Ngunjiri Wambugu, who, when I engaged him and he became our first customer, gave us a check of 29,000, roughly $290 US. We went and had some celebration at Mchana restaurant next to the office, because we could not believe we were getting this kind of money, 29,000 at a go. From the product that you guys built. That was built in 2 dark rooms. And in fact, when we were launching that SMS Leopard, Zach stayed in the office. He didn't come for the actual launch. Because we were using a lot of batteries. We had like 12 batteries. Those days, power in Kenya was not stable.
So anything could go
wrong. So Zach remained in the office to make sure.
That to power the computers, the servers?
Exactly. So he had to remain in the office to run the generator. to add the oil and so the diesel, actually, to be specific, because diesel was the cheapest.
Yes.
So I was there at
and this is in 20?
I think this is like 2012. I was there now at iHub. I'm serious. I'm there at iHub launching SMS Leopard.
Yes.
Mugo Kibati is there. He was then the head of Vision 2030. The ICT chairman of Engineer Reggae was there. He was then the ICT chair in Parliament. He came to see what we were launching.
Yes.
All the big boys were there, and it was at iHub.
Yes.
Jessica Colasso had been kind to provide the platform and the refreshments for us, because we didn't have enough cash, and we didn't even pay for the space.
Yes.
So it ended up that we did the launch. So Zach, I was just checking on the text you're sending me that God tell him, man, I'm going to fetch diesel. I'm like, I need to launch this thing.
Otherwise,
so what I did is that I gave Graham to speak about the product. Sadly, we lost that video, but Graham spoke about the entire SMS Leopard product.
Amazing.
And then for me, I was then emceeing. Then after that, I of course stood up and said, "This product is officially launched."
So by then, Africa's Talking was not there, or
Africa's Talking was there, but our first main product was then SMS Leopard, which was the bulk SMS, because that was customer facing products, like SMS. So that was one of the products. The API came a year later. We got a Princeton kid to come and work with us as an intern.
Yes.
And then we did a hackathon. That time Eston was in SA. He followed his wife, who was then working in SA at BCG.
Yes.
And Sam was in London.
Yes.
I was leading the team from Nairobi.
Yes.
So I used to do hackathons. So we'd provide...
And we'll talk about that.
Indeed. So what you're doing is great now, because I know great products will come out of this.
Yes, absolutely.
So when we came up with the API, we're all surprised. And so we priced it at 10 cents. At that time. So Graham has some of the old emails, and I also have some of the...
And people used to negotiate?
Exactly. No, because folks were so surprised that we'd come up with this. Even us were surprised.
Yes.
Because Eston then had also gone for... I'd applied for something called Echoing Green Fellowship.
Yes.
But I didn't win. Eston had applied. I'd asked him to apply. Then we emerged as semi-finalists.
Yes.
And but what Eston had not done, he had not put me on the documentation as a co-founder.
Yes.
So when he wanted to include me,
the
owners of the competitions refused, because they said he should have put it from the beginning. Well, we lost that, but we gained something very meaningful.
Yes.
We gained the ability to go to Hub Ventures. So Hub Ventures gave us some money. I think it was $27,000.
Yes.
And a 90-day training. So Eston represented us. And then he saw closely how Tulio was working, because they tutored him and they coached him, and we made the product better.
Yes.
So he was then in San Francisco and we were here. So he saw the poverty and the strength of innovation in San Francisco.
Yes.
But at the same time, we used to talk a lot on the phone and inspire the team. Yes. Because then he was in the US, he's in Silicon Valley. I think
where the action is.
So everybody, the young techies and everybody was getting very excited.
Yes.
That we're getting there.
Yes.
So people were doubling down their efforts. So that product skyrocketed and became our number one product. But at some point, then I left so that I do more of Africa 2.0.
Yes.
Because my dream then was that wherever every country Africa 2.0 is, or wherever Africa's Talking goes, I wanted us to share space, so that we build a connected and prosperous Africa. Because one was a civil society organization, and then one was a business. So one could feed into the other, and vice versa. Yes. So that's what was,
and that's still the culture even today.
Exactly. Because now I'm happy because Sam is putting together Africa Talking Foundation, which I think will carry on with some of this type of work. And I'm very keen to, because when you're in the US, they say you are homesick.
Yes.
When I come here, they say I'm homegoing.
Yes.
But now I could say we're in the home stretch. And we want to do the home stretch for creating a connected Africa.
Yes.
By both connecting people, person-to-person diplomacy, but also connecting us with mobility.
Yes.
And from mobile money to anything that mobile phones can do.
Yes.
So we become a real connected Africa.
Yes.
You see that? So that's my fundamental belief.
Yes.
That it's a task that needs to be done.
Yes.
And I'm grateful also to the Almighty that also my health is coming back. So I'm able to do more than I could do. Yeah.
I mean, this is interesting. And one of the things that I feel like we should talk about maybe in future is, how did you go to US? And how did that influence, some of the decisions to come back and rebuild and focus on ensuring that what you had initially, aspired to do as a young leader.
So actually,
you're doing it.
I'll do that. I'll actually make a summary for now.
Yes.
When I was in the US, my teacher, Laura Graves, taught me how German was.
Which university was that, or college?
So that was the first college, South Plains College.
Okay.
She took time to teach me about servant leadership.
Yes.
As expressed by Robert Greenleaf.
Yes.
It's a fantastic book.
Yes.
It's called Servant Leadership.
Leaders without a title.
Leaders without a title, but leaders also who are ethical and get things done. They don't need titles to get work done.
Exactly.
They get it done.
Yes.
So, in fact,
yes,
I may read the full name of the book. It's called
Kindly.
Power of Servant Leadership.
Yes.
A Journey into the Nature of Legitimate Power and Greatness by Robert K. Greenleaf.
Yes.
So she gave me that book.
Yes.
And she also gave me a book called The Journey to the East.
Yeah.
So this is a book by Herman Hesse.
Yes.
And she likened me to Leo,
yes,
the unassuming and quintessential servant leader in the novel,
yes,
without whom the journey to the East was not going to be possible. So I also see the journey to the African advancement cannot be possible without the creators or co-creators of a new Africa, which I consider myself to be one of them.
Yes.
So rather than stay in air-conditioned offices in New York, in fact, if I was still in the US, I will most probably be a doctor in New York, a medical doctor, because that is a path which I was taking as a pre-med student.
Yes.
But I'm actually very grateful that on coming back in 2010, when Eston invited me to join Africa's Talking when I was coming here on a holiday, it's the right decision that I made. Because I could just be in a solitary room with one patient, because I'm extremely good with my hands. So I with both sutures, I was trained to do sutures, which I did. So I can actually do sutures on you if you have a torn skin. I can draw blood from any part of your body without you feeling pain. It will be. I'm very good at that until now. So I'd already done all those things, and that was the path that I was going to be. But I think my true path is actually what I'm doing now. Because without building a new Africa, I'd be seeing Americans building their America with us there.
And you admire, you can't do anything.
So my teacher, Dr. Graves, did two things. First, she told me about Lewis and Clark, who discovered America and through journeys and explored America before other people came to build it. See that? And then secondly, when I was helping African Leadership Academy's Fred Swanica to co-write the curriculum called Leadership, Entrepreneurship and African Studies, it occurred to me that when we were being trained, Fred gave us a book on how it's called the Manhattan Project. On how America built the atomic bomb. And how they called their best talents to go to New Mexico, Los Alamos, to build this thing to defend America, which was actually an atomic bomb. So I said, if a nation can coalesce its best and brightest to build such a bomb that was destructive, what could I do to coalesce the best of Kenya or Africa to build something, to build a more positive and a more strong and stable and prosperous Africa? And it's lent itself that Africa's Talking for this moment is a vehicle. And so I'm applying myself with others then to realize the dream. And Africans also have not fully told their stories the way it's supposed to be told. So I'm keen on also being a chief storyteller for these stories, because the more positive and great stories we have, the more powerful Africa will become, because we are words. Before anything becomes great, it was first an idea, just put in words.
It started with God.
Just started with God, then words. It's really just words. Even Africa's Talking started with just a name. Africa is Talking. so that everything we put in follows that.
And the action follows.
The action follows. So I fundamentally believe that even now as we do more things, we will truly be the representatives of the African Renaissance in every way. Both in our clothing, in our music, and in our products and services. And we can even, we will even do this in rural African villages, where 75% of our population still lives.
Absolutely.
So that's what I believe, that we'll even distribute this podcast on by SMS or by internet or by any means necessary. Because more people need to lend their voices, so that their voices are amplified and they're widely distributed. Because we too are owners of this world. This world that doesn't just belong to the West or to the wealthy. It belongs to all of us, contributing and sharing what we have, so that we all move forward together. So I believe in shared prosperity, and I believe that this is also our moment.
Thank you so much, Teddy. And as we conclude, you want to read something from there, maybe to close?
So what I want to read from my...
And don't worry, we'll do a session with books.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, we go through books.
So I wanted to read just a line which I found is important to me. I am beauty, love, and justice. Justice is coming. At this moment, I'm blessed by the ancestors to lead the dance between the lions and the dragons in the African savannah. And to bridge the gap between African Americans, and Americas. From the land, and Americans, and the Native Americans. From the land of the Zia and Ute. New Mexico and Colorado, the mountain states. I am Umoja, meaning oneness or unity in Swahili. J. Craig Venter and Dr. Francis Collins, who both led in the sequencing of the human genome, DNA, established through science that we are 99.9% genetically similar to one another. I was born to bring people together and to bring balance to the world. Ritninga Nyathina, one Kanyakla, which means we are one in Luo. Luo. Erokamano, which means thank you for all those who have worked with me. Oriti, which means may the great force or the Almighty be with you until we see each other. Thotinda, which means end of story in the Luo or in the Luo custom. End stories. Stuff. We say Thotinda.
Amazing stuff. It's yours truly, Michael Kimani of You Like MK, bringing to you direct Impact Masters Media. Thank you so much. It was amazing joining us and listening through. Until next time, live well, live fully. Thank you.